کهکشان مقاومت ایران 1402 کنفرانس دادخواهی. محاکمه سران رژیم آخوندی به خاطر جنایت علیه بشریت و نسل کشی. سخنرانی‌های شخصیت‌های سیاسی و حقوقی، قانونگذاران، وکلا و کارشناسان ویژه ملل متحد از کشورهای مختلف جهان.
آزاده ضابطی، رئیس کمیته وکلای ایرانی در انگلستان. امروز به هم پیوسته ایم تا یکی از تاریک‌ترین فصل‌های تاریخ ایران را روشن کنیم و راه را برای عدالت برای خانواده‌های قربانیان هموار کنیم.
Mrs. Rajavi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you on this day of the Free Iran Summit of 2023. What a phenomenal Free Iran Summit this has been, coinciding, of course, with the historic rally that took place in Paris on Saturday. Mrs. Rajavi, allow me to congratulate you and the National Council of Resistance of Iran on this summit's great success, but allow me above all to congratulate the people of Iran, a testament, of course, this summit to the righteousness of their path and the legitimacy of our resistance movement. Evidenced, of course, by the fact that dignitaries and esteemed individuals from around the world chose to meet here in the very home of the Iranian resistance movement for the summit of 2023. How apt and how appropriate that this, the final session of this four-day summit, should be devoted to the pursuit of justice and the pursuit of accountability for the victims of the 1988 massacre, but also for the victims of all atrocities and massacres that have been perpetrated against the Iranian people by the Iranian regime. Today, we are joined to come together to shed light on one of the darkest chapters in Iran's history and to pave the way for justice for the families of the victims. The 1988 massacre stands as a stark reminder of the Iranian regime's utter disregard for the sanctity and the dignity of human life. And it's a stark reminder of its relentless pursuit of power and power at any cost. In the summer of 1988, tens of thousands of political prisoners, the vast majority of whom were supporters, sympathizers, and members of the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, were sent to the gallows. They were executed, ladies and gentlemen, for one reason and one reason only, and that is for their unwavering support for a free, a democratic Iran. We gather here today not only to honor the victims of this massacre, but also to amplify their voices. Voices that were, of course, so cruelly and so tragically silenced by the Iranian regime's brutality. This afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, we bring together distinguished experts, legal scholars, human rights activists, and also we bring together survivors to share their stories, to join together in their knowledge and their experiences, and to pursue avenues for seeking justice for the families of the victims. And to this end, allow me to introduce the first of this afternoon's speakers. Our first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a legal expert who has dedicated his life to the pursuit of justice and to the pursuit of human rights, an individual with a most distinguished career who has held various influential positions, including serving as the chief of the Human Rights Office at the United Nations Assistance Mission in Iraq, fearlessly exposing human rights violations during his office.
طاهر بومدرا، مدیر بنیاد عدالت برای قربانیان قتل عام 67. ما می توانستیم ببینیم که این رژیمی است که جنایات جدی علیه بشریت مرتکب شده که می توان آنها را در زمره جنایات نسل کشی قرار داد. انجمن عدالت برای قربانیان قتل عام 1367 به مطالعه بیش از 104 نظام حقوقی دولت‌ها پرداخت و به دنبال راه‌هایی برای ادامه کارزار جامعه بین‌المللی برای متوقف کردن موضوع مصونیت از مجازات سران رژیم ایران و تشویق سیستم حقوقی برای حمایت از حاکمیت قانون است.
Thank you. Madame Rajavi, President of the NCRI, brothers and sisters, friends, I would like to speak to you today on behalf of the families of the victims of the massacre of 1988. Of the political prisoners. And as one of the founders of the association called JVMI, Justice for the Victims of 1988 Massacre in Iran, I would like to just give you an idea how I got to know the Ashrafis, the Mujahideen, because I spent my career in Africa. And when I went to Iraq, I know nothing about the Iranian resistance movement, and I knew nothing about the Mujahideen. And when I arrived to Iraq, I was given an induction course about my mission as Chief of the Human Rights Office of the United Nations in Iraq. It's a mission undertaken under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. So that gave me power to access all the places I want to visit. And during that induction, I was warned to be careful about those people living in Camp Ashraf. So I had no doubt, and I could not put in doubt my colleagues, my UN colleagues' advice that I have to be careful because I had to deal with a group of terrorists. That was sometime in February 2009. And then I went on with my mission with all required professionalism, objectivity, and independence. And I observed for myself. And also within my mission, I was advisor to the government of Iraq on issues of human rights. So I listened to all parties, Iraqis, Iranian embassy in Baghdad, and I visited on a weekly basis Camp Ashraf. And I came to the conclusions based on my own personal observations, that whatever comes to me through the Ashrafis turned out to be right. And anything that reaches me through particularly the Prime Minister's office, the Iraqi Prime Minister's office, and the Iranian embassy in Baghdad they always tried to denigrate these people, and all the denigration always turned out to be wrong. So, not to go too far in telling you my story with Ashraf, but I was really put in a situation where I couldn't continue my mission in Iraq because I was treated by the United Nations as if I carried the virus of cholera. I was isolated, I was put under pressure, life became so hard, and probably my life at the UN mission was more difficult than those who were in Camp Ashraf. So I had to resign. And when I left Iraq, I went back to England, and I met a number of British lawyers, and we decided to establish JVMI in order to give a voice to the families of the victims and to the survivors of the prosecution. So we established a plan of action, and we put as a program for JVMI the documentation of the crimes perpetrated not only in 1988, but also the ongoing crimes that went on and touched the people living in Camp Ashraf. You know that during the 1988 massacre, there was a blackout. Information didn't come out straight away from Tehran. Mr. Masoud Rajavi did contact the United Nations, informed them about, at the time, about 800 victims already. And the Agence France Presse, AFP, started talking about some movements, strange movements in the prisons, night movements. So there was already an alert. And the families of the victims started pouring communications to the then Special Rapporteur on the human rights situation in Iran. The then Special Rapporteur, and you all know, in the 80s, the human rights system within the United Nations was still embryonic. The mechanism we know today did not exist. And after a very shy report produced by the then Special Rapporteur, the whole issue went into oblivion. Nobody spoke about it for years. But in the roundabout beginning of 2000, the Grand Ayatollah Hussein Ali Montazeri, he wrote his memoirs and revealed a lot of things, and revealed how Khomeini has decided to get rid of the opposition by all means. And one of the letters, probably you'll find it in a document before you, one of the letters said to the son from Khomeini to his son, when his son asked about what to do about these prisoners. He replied to him, kill them all. Do not waste time within the procedural matters. Just kill them. So here we are, the supreme leader, Khomeini, he decided to openly call for a crime against humanity, a crime that could even amount to genocide. So we could see that it's a regime, it's a system that is there to commit serious crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crimes that could be counted among the crimes of genocide. The United Nations, after so many years of keeping quiet about what happened in Iran against the political prisoners, the JVMI decided to revive the public awareness of what really happened. JVMI, based on the expertise of international lawyers, used very high standard for evidence and wrote a report naming over 70 leaders who participated in the implementation of Khomeini's fatwa. And we are very aware that the list is very, very long of suspect perpetrators. But we also know that crimes against humanity, genocide, are very, very serious crimes. So we used very high UN standard for identifying the suspect perpetrators. And that was published in 2 books. The second book is a book that's identified the places, the geographical locations of mass graves. And we went around in Geneva and everywhere, knocking on every door of the United Nations and the diplomatic community. We gave them reports, we gave them the evidence, and we called for the establishment of an independent international commission for inquiring these crimes. We did not get a reply to our request. But the lawyers among us here, they know that international law develops progressively. And in fact, human rights is a field that develops progressively. So the 80s, that was focusing on the promotion, not the protection. In the 80s, the United Nations focused on developing and promoting values of human rights. Today, things have changed. We have mechanisms that do work towards protecting human rights. And I take this opportunity to thank very much the late Asma Jahangir, the special rapporteur on the human rights situation in Iran. She had the courage she had the courage to bring back on the agenda of the United Nations issues of the massacre that took place in Iran in 1988. It's thanks to her efforts, thanks to her courage, that the Human Rights Council was officially informed that there is a crime against humanity that took place against political prisoners in Iran. And also, now that the issue was brought back to the agenda, her successors, the successors of Asma Jahangir, developed even further the situation. And also I take this opportunity to thank very, very much the actual Special Rapporteur of the United Nations on the situation of human rights, Jawid Rahman. Jawid Rahman has produced so far a number of reports, but he also worked together with the other UN human rights groups, thematic groups, and they all came together to call for the establishment of an international commission for inquiry into the massacre of political prisoners in Iran. That's a very important breakthrough. But the real breakthrough came through a court, the judicial system. The real breakthrough was that of the Stockholm District Court that convicted Hamid Nouri for crimes against humanity. This is the first time ever a court of law prosecutes and convicts and sentences a person charged of crimes against humanity. So here we are again. We could see the developments, very encouraging developments. JVMI went into studying over 104 legal systems of individual states, searching for avenues to continue mobilizing the international community to stop the issue of impunity and to encourage the legal system to uphold the rule of law. Now, I'm glad to say that JVMI is not going to stop there. JVMI considers the case of Hamid Nouri as the beginning, but a lot will be coming, and the justice and the rule of law will prevail. Thank you very much.